So we're just waiting for our guest and for the audience to start the Twitter space. So this is our fourth recorded Twitter space, and this time it's about trading. Welcome, Source Point. So I was just introducing the episode for the recording. But I was saying, so this is our fourth recorded Twitter space, and it kind of became like a podcast where we just discuss topics with people who have experience in them. Uh, and this time we're Nakamotolisk, who will join us to talk to us about his experience in trading and how he onboarded fast, how he learned fast how to trade. So, hi Nakamoto. Can I call you Nakamoto or should I call you Nakamotolisk?
For the day, I actually expect an invite, but for some reason I didn't get it. It may be my Twitter privacy settings. I know I've set them quite strict, but anyway, thanks for having me on. And Nakamoto is fine. Although I do feel that would be a bit of a bit of an insult to Satoshi, who invented Bitcoin, compared to me, who invented, drawing patterns on charts. But it is what it is. I'll take it.
It's still a nickname because like Satoshi is, we don't know who he is, and he kind of represents us all, so it fits everybody, each one of us.
Exactly, we're all Satoshi.
Yeah, exactly. So first of all, welcome to this Twitter space. I'm really happy to have you on because we didn't have traders before. As I said earlier, our first episode, we had an Austrian economist who talked to us about his views about the macro perspective. And the second one, we had an MEV, a young aspiring MEV searcher, who talked to us about how he got into MEV and what's MEV. And the previous one was about traditional finance, and it was about the discounted cash flow model and how to use it to value cryptocurrencies. But I really wanted to have a trader, someone who's always looking at the price and knowing what's actually happening. So thank you again for joining, and looking forward to this discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's some interesting perspectives.
So first of all, for those who don't know you, could you just tell us more about you, where it all started?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I got into crypto in 2020. Well, actually, my involvement with it goes back a lot further than that, because I'm a friend of Virgil Griffith, who is like quite a famous Ethereum sort of guy. Unfortunately, he tried to shill Ethereum in North Korea and they sent him to jail. Not the North Koreans, the Americans. But he actually told me about Ethereum in 2015, and I never bought any because I didn't actually realize you could buy it. Like, he told me there was this project that he was working for, and he said, come do development for this. And I was like, well, I don't really know much about it. I already have a job. Maybe I should wait a little bit until I've saved up some money, and then I'll sort of pay attention to it. Turned out that was probably the worst decision of my life. And if I'd known that this was something you could buy, that may have affected my decision a little bit, but I didn't. And years later, it was like, wow, crypto is mooning. That's crazy. Eventually, by about 2020, I took a small spot position just in case crypto did well, because I kind of understood that economic stimulus was going to pump all markets, including crypto. So I thought it makes sense to take some of that. I also advised a few rich friends on their crypto allocations. I had a guy who was buying some Bitcoin. I said to him, look, buy some Ethereum as well. It's a good project, right? I mean, it's not a scam, and if Bitcoin does well, Ethereum will probably do well as well. So he bought some Ethereum on my advice. which turned out to be a very good decision, buying Ethereum in July 2020. So from then on, I mean, I kind of didn't pay that much attention to crypto until like everything went really crazy. So by the time I really got in, it was kind of early 2021, January 2021, which is very unfortunate because that was really a very bad time to get into crypto in terms of trading and investing, because you're basically getting into the top of the bull market at that point. Most of the move was already done, and you were kind of picking up scraps at that point. But nevertheless, I started, with maybe about 1/20th of a Bitcoin at the beginning, and I had some ups and downs, and by now I've got probably slightly more than one Bitcoin in portfolio value. So, not a huge portfolio, but you got to remember, I only started as like a casual guy with a small investment. And I'm doing okay. I have a Discord that we use for kind of sharing alpha indicators, that kind of thing. I'm looking to open that up. But I mean, obviously we're kind of in a bearish phase now, but so that's how I got into crypto.
Yeah, definitely advising your friend to buy in July 2020. That was a great advice, especially for Ethereum. I started a few months after that, and even at the time when I started, Ethereum was definitely a great buy. So yeah, you had a pretty rough ride, and funny enough, I also didn't know that you could buy crypto, and for me it was Bitcoin. So that's why I never bought it. But I never thought that other people faced the same thing. I thought, okay, maybe I'm the only one who didn't know that you could buy it.
I knew you could buy Bitcoin. I read about it on the news in 2013, obviously at a cycle top. So I knew you could buy that, but I didn't realize you could buy Ethereum, right? I thought Ethereum was like, the way he described it to me was that like Ethereum is some kind of communications software, kind of like maybe like an instant messaging system, except more decentralized. Because he was working with you have to understand, right? Virgil was working for Tor before this. So I thought it was something related to Tor. And I was like, oh, that sounds kind of cyberpunk and interesting, but I've got to focus on my job and making money, so I'll leave that for later.
Yeah, now I understand more. But turns out you finally got involved in early 2021.
Yeah.
So that at that time, even though most of like the action was like going down, we still had another run up after at the end of 2021. So it was still a funny, exciting ride. How did you live that? How did you live a bear market in a mini bear and a mini bull as a trader?
So I actually was a really bad trader in 2021 because I was a completely new trader, right? So the way I started with some spot, and I was like, oh shit, I'm like late to the greatest bull run in the world. So why don't I use leverage to catch up, right? And I know a lot of people might be groaning here and thinking, oh my God. So I decided to use some leverage in early 2021. And the funny thing is, if you just use leverage from like January to February 2021, you could make a lot of money. And I also bought Dogecoin at 1 cent with significant size for me, and made, turned like a couple of $100 into like a couple of thousand. But I didn't hold it, unfortunately. I missed the second pump of Doge, which is a huge mistake. But like, I had the right thesis, right? I knew that Elon was going to pump Doge. I looked at the chart. I could see it was going to go higher. So, I just leveraged a bunch of alts. I sold all my Bitcoin in January 2021 for alts and Ethereum, which turned out to be exactly the right thing to do. I got into Matic early at about 11 cents, rode most of that to $1 and then some of it to $2. So I had some good trades, but unfortunately in May 2021, I got wrecked in the nuke. So by that point, I'd learned that you had to do risk management, right? Now, I already knew that you would have to think about both the upside and the downside, but I didn't really know what the best way to think about that was. So at the time of the nuke, I had some stable coins, I had some Ethereum on chain in Aave. I had a bunch of leverage positions in cross margin, and I had some leverage tokens as well. All the exposure was long. I didn't have any short, I didn't have any puts, because for that period, like pressing the red button was just pain, right? It was never a good idea to be short in that period. There were no significant shorts that were worth taking. There were some you could do, but you just basically wanted to buy every single dip with leverage, and that's actually what I did. Now I got kind of wrecked in the main nuke. I watched a cross margin portfolio. I think I had like XRP on leverage, ADA, all of this shit in cross margin all got deleted. So I lost a decent chunk of capital, like maybe 30% of my capital to liquidations in the main nuke. But then, I had a group of people, we were trading together, and I was like, look, guys, we need to long the bottom, and we did, and then sell the bounce, and we did. So I actually got out of my Ethereum positions around 3,000, which is pretty good, right? I mean, that was a good price to be getting out of Ethereum at that point. And then from then on, it was very difficult to navigate the bear market in the summer because, nobody seemed to know what was actually happening, right? There were a lot of opinions going around on crypto Twitter. I thought that might be it. I thought, we didn't really go as high as I thought we were going to go, but that might be the end of the bull market now. And we need to prepare to buy the bottom of the next bear market. So I was holding a significant amount of cash and stable coins, doing some stablecoin farming. But I did, buy the dip on Ethereum and Bitcoin just in case I was wrong, because we still holding support. So in fact, it did turn out that I was wrong, and we did pump. And I think in the end, I ended up, kind of selling my Bitcoin a little bit too early, held my ETH, sold that mostly in the September top. So by this point, I've been trading for how long? I've been trading for half a year, and I've become a little bit better at filtering out the signal from the noise, right? So when you're on crypto Twitter, there's a lot of accounts that are just full of shit, right? Like they just total bullshit. And when you're new to trading, you don't actually know which accounts those are, and you don't know what the real alpha is, right? So when SuDAO was shilling Ethereum at the top in May, I thought he was giving us alpha, right? He was like, oh yeah, it's going to go to 15K, it's going to go to 20K, you need to hold, you need to hold for generational wealth. And I was like, wow, this guy is so kind. He's giving us this, he's giving us these tips. What a gentleman. But he was actually just completely raping us, right? Like he was just completely destroying us with that. It was actually the opposite of alpha. And once I'd been properly wrecked by that, I realized that the epistemology of trading is extremely adversarial, right? So all the information out there is suspect, right? Everything that anyone tells you in trading is potentially harmful. It's potentially some form of kind of cognitive malware that's designed to steal your money. And you need to vet everything that you hear. Why is this person telling you this? What's their justification? Does their reasoning make sense? Do they have a good track record? And once you sort of, back in the early days, I would listen to that Martini guy as alpha. I'd be like, wow, he's got an expensive car, and he's kind of from the lower classes, so he must be really good at trading. He's shit at trading, right? That Martini guy, he just gets, his trades are awful. You can literally just put your entry, underneath his stop loss and do well, or his liquidation. I don't know whether he uses stops, but yeah. So I mean, that's a big difference. And then from that point onwards, I was like, wow, this really sucks. I'm good at trading now. I understand how this game works. Or I'm not good, but I'm not bad, right? I understand how the game works. But I've wasted the best bull run in human history just learning to trade, right? that really sucks. But it is what it is. And by the time we got to the top around November, I pulled most of my money out. I told people I was bearish, and you know, like yeah, I mean, I kind of did okay. I played some altcoins, and here we are.
Yeah, here we are. It was definitely a huge ride, and I totally side with you for the influencer part. When I started, there was an influencer, I won't name them because honestly, I think that they were genuinely good, but they just didn't know what they did. Because they shilled projects that lost 99%. So I put 1K in one project one time, and that was where I learned my lesson, because that 1K is still in my wallet today, but today it's $6. So
I,
quite the
I
difference.
lost I lost so much to scam altcoins.
Yeah, scams as well. Like this one, it
Honestly,
was like the thing that made me wake up to the influencers' practices.
yeah. I mean, I remember in early 2021, I was basically I would see an altcoin shilled on Twitter, right? A low cap, and I would go to Uniswap and I would just buy it, just based on somebody like, maybe one of the influencers shills an altcoin, you just go and buy it immediately. And I thought, wow, everything's going up. These guys are so rich, they must be smart. I'm just gonna buy their stuff. It's all good. And you know, I mean, I ended up selling a lot of those altcoins either at a small profit or a small loss. I didn't take any really huge losses because, I was, I mean, I did take some, but like I didn't like bag hold a bunch of crap to zero. But like, just the experience of doing that and seeing how every time an influencer shills something, the chart like tops. I was like, wow, this is like really predatory. Um, I need to be very careful.
Yeah, there's a lot of predatory practices, and this is definitely the first lesson that we learn. But I still want to understand, like, how you learned, like, for trading, because I see that, yeah, you did mistakes, you learned from experience, but did you go into books other than the Discord where you learned with people? Did you go into books, videos, or did you check into any courses? Uh, how did you learn the fundamentals of trading?
I didn't read any books on it, and there's probably some things I'm missing because of that. Um, so there are some very good accounts on crypto Twitter, and once you kind of work out who the good accounts are, you pick up the relevant material. So I mean, yeah, like you could certainly read books, but I do think the right influences, the right follows on CT, will teach you stuff more quickly. So there's Adam Abe Trades. He has a good website. There's Cold Blooded Schiller. He has a good group, and his analysis is good. There's like Dan. He's also pretty good. Like there's a bunch of these guys. Also, Kobe kind of plays this kind of act like he's a kind of dumb kind of rock star type and doesn't know anything, but he's actually quite smart. And if you listen to his interviews and his, when he really goes through how he traded and how he made his money, it's very interesting. Pentoshi is also pretty good. In terms of the macro, probably I learned a lot of it from Pentoshi's stuff because I didn't really know how macroeconomics actually worked, at least in terms of how the central bank interacts with bonds and inflation and interest rates and stuff like that. So I mean, Pentoshi has a post I think somewhere called the US dollar white paper, which is pretty good. So there are actually some really good people on crypto Twitter who are dishing out a lot of really really good educational material that's probably far better than what you get in a book, because books in general tend to be about between 10 and 100 times longer than they actually need to be, because of like the legacy of needing to have like a whole book that somebody can hold in their hand. People tend to fill books with crap that doesn't need to be in there. So that is one advantage. If you really can filter who you follow, you can get some pretty good information.
Yeah, especially some small accounts, you would be very surprised. First when I followed you, I didn't like. I was the moment I followed you, I was in talks with a friend about USDT domination and how to use it for trading, and it was I was talking to you on one of your Twitter space, and you explained to me your point, and it was very interesting to learn your opinion about USDT dominance and how you trade it. I don't know if you still use it or you use other indicators. Since obviously you definitely improved your trading style in the meantime. I also love that I see a lot of posts in defense of Bitcoin that you do, or in defense of any innovation linked to Bitcoin. Anything to share about that?
Yeah, I mean, I've become more of a fan of Bitcoin over time. So I was initially more biased towards Ethereum because Ethereum is more sophisticated. It has, quite frankly, the people who work on Ethereum are smarter than the people who work on Bitcoin. I mean, there are some smart devs who work on Bitcoin, but there's way more of them who work on Ethereum. But I think there is an advantage to the simplicity of Bitcoin, which perhaps people overlook a little bit. Something actually working properly and is really important. When there's hundreds of millions of people relying on it, it's really important that it works. And Bitcoin being kind of like, crypto for dummies is an advantage in that case. Because it's simple, it's hard to make a mess of. Whereas because Ethereum is complicated, it's easy to make a mess of. And I expect that we will see many more messes with Ethereum, especially with proof of stake. Over time, we will see various screw ups, and those are just, in my opinion, opportunities to buy the dip. But yeah, I mean, Bitcoin has grown on me certainly, and especially what we've seen with central banks recently, how much of a mess they've made. It certainly makes Bitcoin look good.
Definitely. I also saw like the posts from Twitter CEO about Web 5 for Bitcoin. So yeah, things seem promising for it. It's easy, and if things are developed around it instead of having
The problem I have with anything that's like developed around Bitcoin is it kind of breaks this idea of simplicity, right? Bitcoin is very simple. It's a token. It doesn't do anything. It has the best security in the world. Well, it's not really a token. It's a coin, right? It has the best security of any coin. It has the best pedigree. It has the best brand name. As soon as you start saying, well, we're going to do something on top of Bitcoin or with Bitcoin or whatever, you're no longer in that kind of simple realm of it's just literally digital gold. You're now trying to build something with it. And I suspect that Ethereum will do all of that stuff better, simply because that stuff gets complicated. And you need a bunch, in order to do that stuff, you need to make mistakes along the way, right? You need something that tries new things, and that brings risks, and that brings problems, and that brings screw-ups, but it also brings technological progress. So I'm very bearish on the Bitcoin ecosystem. I'm very bullish on Bitcoin, which is, I know it's a bit of a strange point of view, but I really do think that's the way it is. I think people are going to be using Bitcoin as a store of value for 50, 100, 500, 1,000 years, right? But I don't think many of these Bitcoin ecosystem ideas are going to get anywhere.
Yeah, there's like a distinction between the coin and the ecosystem, kind of. Mm-hmm. And apart from Bitcoin, what are your other interests when it comes to blockchain?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I'm very bullish in the long term on Ethereum and Ethereum's L2s. Probably the most interesting project to me would be something like Aztec, which is trying to bring private smart contracts to Ethereum, which is just going to be huge, because there's so many things that you could build if you had the ability to have a private smart contract, but you can't, right? So yeah, I mean, and then there's also the WorldCoin thing, where they have a device that's going to scan your eye and create a cryptographically unique identity for you, but it's one that also can't be linked to you. So you basically get like an identity that proves you're a real human, but it doesn't prove which one, which is fantastic, right? I mean, you can think of it as a sort of like a passport, but for anons, right? So I'm very excited about WorldCoin, Aztec, like all of this stuff. I think there's huge potential. Vitalik's a very smart guy. You know, his like all of his ideas are fantastic, but you know, all of this stuff's going to take a long time, right? This stuff's not going to be built in a day.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I saw Aztec, the privacy layer. So it was, I didn't know it was for deploying the private smart contract. So you're enlightening me tonight. So yeah, definitely. I
think
understand your. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, that's the intention. It doesn't work yet, and I think they're having some setbacks. They recently had a post where they're like, "It isn't ready on time. We're sorry." But this is just the way things go, right?
That's how it goes in the space. So for you, what's the future would be Bitcoin, Ethereum, and its layer twos, but also privacy and also identity, since WorldCoin would be considered as like an anonymous social security number.
Yeah, I think so. I think those things have a lot of potential. Of course, as I said, it takes a long time. You might wait 5 years for this stuff, and then once we have it, there are going to be all sorts of problems with it. In terms of how do you make sure that it's socially beneficial? How do you make sure that criminals don't get the most value? Because that often crypto is useful to everybody eventually, but first it's very useful to the bad guys. And I think all of this stuff will also be in that kind of mold, where the first users are the bad guys because they really, really, really need privacy. They really, really need anonymity. But then actually it's useful for everyone else later on, because ordinary people need to have an anonymous identity so they can share their opinions. And another one actually that I've been keeping an eye on is Lens Protocol, for crypto social media. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I've been also keeping an eye on it. I am waiting to claim as well a Lens name.
Yeah. But I mean, in terms of me personally, I think I had an interesting experience trading. I'm going to keep trading, but I'm probably also going to branch out into building, because the bear market is also the build market, right?
Yeah, that's what we're doing here at Stable Unit. Beer market is for building, but that's something interesting to go for, because like it's, for me personally, it's my first formal employment in crypto, and it's been a ride, especially during this bear market. Everything is more difficult, but it builds you up. And honestly, I really liked learning more about you, and I would like to open the floor to the audience to see if there's any questions. So we talked about how you started. We talked about your vision for the future, your love for Bitcoin. Any other question from the audience? Just raise your hand. I will give you the floor.
I did such a good speech that nobody has any questions.
Yeah. I think GK didn't like the speech. That's why he has a question. Everybody else understood and liked it. No, I love it.
Hi, Naka.
Oh,
hi there. I just had a quick question, bit personal, but how much did you have in your Lunar short in the product? You had like a 3x product which you took up, which I found quite interesting at the time, and I think you sold it during the capitulation, but I was just quite curious to how much you had in that and how that went for you in the end.
I mean, it didn't go great because I basically chickened out of it, and I didn't put enough in. Like, if I just really sized that trade up and stuck with it until the bitter end, I would have made incredible amounts of money. But I got kind of fudded out of my shorts, which is the latest thing that I mean, I made money. Like, I made like I think nearly a 10x on a few £100, but you know, I could have put in a few thousand and held it for like a 30x.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. It was a wild time, those few couple of days. So no, I just remember being in the spaces and you were talking about it, and I didn't have the balls to kind of pull the trigger on it. I was still trying to put some longs in on Lunar at various points, which weren't going too well. But no, thanks for answering my question. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I think that's just, you know, experience as a trader. The latest thing that I think I'm learning is that when people disagree with me nowadays, it probably means they're wrong, right? Like, not everybody. There are some people who, when they disagree with me, I get scared and I'm like, oh, I'm on the other side from such and such. That's bad. But when the average person disagrees with me, I'm like, okay, that's bullish. It means it's just confirmation, right? Because most people are wrong in trading. And so if they disagree with you, they're just giving you confidence to your correct idea.
Cool. Thanks for that.
Appreciated.
Thank you, GK, for your question. I think CP as well has a question. Welcome on board.
Appreciate it. Hey, Naka, good to talk to you. I know I catch you on a lot of the spaces, especially with Brandon and those guys, so good to talk to you. Question, I know you look at a lot of different indicators. Do you ever look at the hash ribbon indicator for Bitcoin? I noticed today we got the capitulation little signal on the hash ribbons indicator. Didn't know if you looked at that at all, and what that significance might be.
That's interesting. I've never actually looked at it. So yeah, I mean, presumably this. Oh yeah, so this one kicked off in October 2018, and then it sort of flipped bullish again in January 19. That's interesting. So what exactly does it do? Is it like a MACD for the hash rate or something?
Yeah, I don't fully understand it. I know I've seen some people mention it. It has to do with the hash rate. I know the one that I've looked at, it kicked off in April of last year. I think April and May, it capitulated twice. I was trying to look at it back testing wise, and it doesn't always look like it's, you know, super compelling as far as, you know, showing that we are going to capitulate. Sometimes it happens after the fact. And then it also provides a buy signal as well on the other side. But the buy signal is typically after the pump has already started. So it's not a great timer, but it has to do with hash rate.
Yeah, so I guess the idea is that when hash rate starts kind of dropping off, that's bearish, because and there is kind of like a fundamental issue there where when the price goes down enough, miners have to start selling coins, and you know, it gets into like the miner death spiral where all the miners are selling their stock because, you know, they mined all this Bitcoin and they held it hoping for the moon, and now the price is going down and they're having to sell, and then that drives the price down even more, etc., etc. So yeah, I mean, it's possible. I mean, what would I say about this indicator? I mean, I'd have to really understand it before I was super confident to use it. I mean, it seems to have triggered quite nicely in October 2018, which is good. But you know, it's also triggered a lot of other times, right? It like triggered, according to this, it triggered at the bottom in March 2020, so super late. And then it also randomly triggered in October 2020. And maybe I'm looking at the wrong time frame. Yeah, I don't know. No, it doesn't seem to matter what the time frame is. So yeah, I mean, I would have to study it a bit more before I really put any value in it, right? And the other thing is, if it's a very popular indicator, that's kind of bad, right? Because it means a lot of people are looking at it.
Hey, trying to change in this thing. Thanks for your take on that. Trying to change in the subject. I know some of the coins in the project you said you were looking at. Are those ones that you mentioned kind of specifically related to ETH and built on ETH? Because in regards to like privacy and secret smart contracts, have you ever looked into Secret Network for one, and then the identity one? Have you looked into Kilt protocol also? Those are two that I've...
Yeah, I haven't looked into Kilt, but the problem with Secret, and Secret is very nice. I mean, I might, you know, the main advantage of Secret is it actually like works, right? You can go and build on it right now. But the problem with Secret is Secret doesn't actually use mathematics to give you privacy. It uses the Intel SGX chip, right? So it's like a secure enclave on these Intel chips. And the problem with that is these secure enclaves can be broken, right? So they're not secure in an absolute sense. They're secure relative to the amount of effort that somebody wants to put into breaking it. But eventually, with enough incentives, it's going to get broken. And in crypto, the monetary value of those incentives becomes very large very quickly. So if Secret Network was successful, Intel SGX would get broken, and somebody would use that to drain, you know, to do whatever they need to do to make money, right? So it's kind of inherently insecure because, you know, as long as it's unsuccessful, it will work. And as soon as it gets successful, it's probably going to break, because of the, you know, the inherent nature of Intel SGX as being, you know, not mathematically secure, right? And there are some attacks, like these, you know, these side channel attacks. I can't remember what they were called. The like these like cache side channel attacks. There was a big, like, high profile vulnerability with these a while ago. And those, I believe, do break SGX. So, you know, I don't think that Secret Network has a long-term future using that tech, but maybe over time they will upgrade to use the kind of mathematically secure stuff, and then it has a long-term future.
So you're talking more about like the ZK projects,
right? Because yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. No, I was just gonna ask: are you like Optimism and Arbitrum and those projects? Are you more bullish on those then for the long term in relation to ETH?
Yeah, I think that's certainly something to be bullish on long term, because Ethereum has a plan for scaling, and that plan is layer 2, right? So you have Arbitrum, Optimism, Immutable X, Metis, etc., a whole bunch of them, and actually Aztec will be an L2, WorldCoin will be an L2, all of these things will be L2s, and like, I think what's going to happen next bull run is, instead of everyone wanting to buy the token for a cool L1, there's only going to be one L1, and it's going to be Ethereum, and the interest is going to be which L2 do you want to buy.
Gotcha. So you think most of these L1s will go away? You don't think any of them will survive the next bear market, or this next bull run?
Well, I mean, they might, but like, they have a fundamental problem, which is that when you have an L1, what you most want is the greatest economic security, right? And you want to be able to trustlessly, you know, move from place to place. So if you're on an L2 on Ethereum, you can like press a button and trustlessly remove your funds from that L2 back onto L1. You don't need anyone's permission to do that. You can just call a function to do that yourself, right? But if you're on like Solana and you have some wrapped ether on Solana, you can't automatically move that back to Ethereum. You're relying on some bridge provider to be in working order to allow you to do that. And as we've seen, bridges are very vulnerable. So that especially, so for smaller players, for the degen with $300, they might not care very much about that, because they're like, well, maybe it's a problem, maybe it isn't, you know, worst case I lose $300. But if you're an institution with $300 billion, you really, really, really care about economic security. And if you have to rely on a bridge to get back to Ethereum, and that bridge is potentially insecure, it got hacked, it's illiquid, whatever is wrong with it, that's a deal breaker, right? So I think the institutions will go to ETH because it's the most economically secure, and then everyone else will realize, well, Ethereum mainnet's too expensive, we can't use it, so let's use these L2s. What's the point of using Solana when we could just use Arbitrum instead, or Optimism, or any of the other ones? Because there's going to be a lot of them. There can be, infinitely many of them, and we get the benefits of being faster, but we also get the benefits of mathematically provable security.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm not. I definitely don't have the developer background like you do, so I appreciate the technical kind of information that you provided about, because I've never heard that in regards to secret or anything. So
yeah,
thanks for sharing that. I do appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, I have been. I'm not a Solidity dev. I'm trying to learn it, but I was a Python developer, and I've read some of this stuff. And another thing is, like, Vitalik's blog is pretty good, right? You can read about the stuff on Vitalik's blog. He explained about the differences between the guarantees that you can get from an L2 versus what you kind of can't get from a different L1.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. I don't mean to dominate the conversation, so I just I'm new to this too. Like you, I think I joined last April. I've just started in crypto for exactly just over a year now, so I'm kind of making my way. My journey. I really haven't traded, kind of like you did, but I've just been trying to make my way, figure it out. And like I think some of y'all mentioned, I think we all start with the influencers and trying to slowly find my way to the more reputable people on Twitter. I've recently found these spaces much more beneficial than trying to watch YouTube videos or anything like that, because I feel like the people who are putting the spaces on are much more the people who you could potentially find reliable. So
yeah,
I've listened to you in spaces, some of those groups, the space that you've been in. So I appreciate you doing that, and I'll still be around. I don't plan on going anywhere anytime soon. I'm a little bit older, but I'm doing this for my family and everything to make a better future for them. So I'll be here for the long term.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Stable.
No, I was just going to say we appreciate it. You didn't take over the floor. Don't worry. We're here to share knowledge, and that's how we do it. So we really appreciate having you on, CP. Thank you for coming.
I appreciate it, and that's what I'm trying to do. And trying to find somewhat of a community, because I know that's kind of how the people that I've heard that have done well in the last bear markets into bull runs, and that's what they've done, is they just stuck with it. Find those voices that they can kind of listen to and learn from, and those people you can talk to, and just to grow yourself and to make a better future for yourself. So I'll be here, like I said. So thank y'all.
Yeah, and one thing I would say is, like, there's a sort of ecosystem of information that builds itself up around crypto, where you end up with like a food chain, basically. So if you go on crypto Twitter, you're probably quite close to the top of the food chain if you know who to follow, right? You're getting the alpha pretty quickly. If you go on to like YouTube, you're quite close to the bottom of the information food chain, and so you're getting more and more stale info. Now, not everything on YouTube is bad, but a lot of the worst stuff is on YouTube. So you have BitBoy. I remember BitBoy started shilling Lunar and AVAX, and I was like, okay, this is the top for these coins. And I even have a tweet that says exactly that. It's like, that's it, it's over. I missed the Lunar run, right? And then when I saw BitBoy shilling it, I was like, congratulations to everyone who caught it. This is done. And it was basically the top, right? So if you go on YouTube, you will often get the stale information, and in trading, that's death, because the stale information is basically that somebody has to lose in this game, right? Somebody's going to be the loser, and it's going to be the person with the lowest, most out of date, lowest quality information. They're going to be buying top. They're going to be getting rugged. And that bad information is often found on accounts that have millions of followers, that have fancy graphics, that do the kind of like funky faces and like very emotional content, that kind of thing. So you have to be very careful if you're consuming information. What kind of information are you consuming? Are you getting the hot alpha drops, just after it was sort of developed, or are you the exit liquidity?
Yeah, I agree. I started with YouTube, and I'll be honest, I watched Crypto Man Ran and all those guys, and I know he's got a pretty bad reputation. I don't really watch him anymore. I did pick up Luna though last year when he, I think, shielded it at some point. I think it was before the April and May crash. So I got a tiny bit at like, I don't know, $12 or $14, and then I bought a tiny bit when it all crashed. I wish I would have had a little more confidence. To be honest, I kind of got freaked out when the May crash happened, and I didn't really buy anything over that whole period. I wish I kind of got that fearful and the market got me. I stuck around, but didn't buy much. I bought a tiny bit of Luna, so I made some money off of Luna, but not I'm kind of the opposite end of the spectrum with you about the Luna short. I just didn't have the confidence. I kind of chickened out and bought just a tiny bit. And if I would have, bought more, I could have done better. But
yeah.
So, but it's all lessons learned.
Yeah, it's lessons learned, man. Definitely. And that if you joined crypto in April of 2021, you haven't really even experienced a bull market. You've actually experienced a crab market, because it went up, it went down, it went up, and now it's back down again. So it's a very difficult environment to make any money in if you're an investor, right? Because we joined so late, we couldn't really buy anything, and then there were buying opportunities, but they were very dangerous ones, right? So some people did very well by going ape long in July 2021 and made huge amounts of money, but that was a really dangerous long. That was like high risk. If you went like ape long, in like 2020, you're taking a much lower risk position with way more upside. So just the timing of this is really bad. And of course, the reason that we all happen to have this bad timing is because these markets will tend to suck in most people when it's the worst point to enter, right? Because again, somebody has to be the exit liquidity.
Yeah, and I'm kind of see myself more as an investor, not as a trader. So, I'm more cautious because, like I said, I have a family, so I have money that I'm using money that I could afford to lose if I have a day job, my wife has a job, so it's not like I'm using money that if I lost it, I would be hurting. But I still don't want to lose the money, to be that, I don't want to be in that hole. So I feel like in the end, overall, I've won because, I didn't make a lot of money, but I also didn't lose a lot of money. I'm more or less even to where I started with. So I see that as a victory because I have, cash to be able to buy when the time comes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely, and I really wish you well, CP, because honestly, just stay away from the big accounts. The thing is, when you gave the example of Abitrade was a small account and it grew because his content is very good. So in this case, his content was made before he grew big, and it was to help people, and he grew big because of that. But there are many out there who just sell you dopamine. They just want to see you happy, and when there's the bear market, these people have nothing to sell you anymore. So that's when it's at these moments that who to follow, who to learn from, and also to network, because a lot of things is happening in DMs. Honestly, sometimes there's some situation I don't follow and I get a DM, hey, have you seen this? And I get arguments and situations well explained, actually. So yeah, networking is very important.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you see, if you're networking, you're getting higher and higher up in the food chain, right? And the ultimate thing is basically to be launching your own protocol, right? Because then you're at the absolute top of the food chain. You know about it before anyone else does. So you're going to have the greatest possible gains, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah, and that prompts my question for you, Nakamoto. because I wanted to know the steps, like because I know your story. I know how you got into trading and how you learned, but how do you go into it right now when you want to switch into a builder? Like, did you see any specific type of ideas that inspired you? Maybe the Bitcoin bill. What prompted you to decide to build actually?
Well, I mean, so what prompted me to decide to try and do some building is just very simple kind of trading, sort of macro trading, investing insight, which is that in a bull market, it's very, very easy to make money, right? Like you can just basically be like a monkey. You can roll your face over the keyboard with each different coin assigned to a different keyboard letter. You just roll your face around and you will make money in a bull market, right? In like a bear market, like early bear market like we are now, you can make money by shorting, right? But it's much more difficult, right? So most people who try to short will get wrecked, okay? But you know, some people will just about manage to make a little bit of money shorting, right? And then some people will do really well. But then once you get into like a crab, like late bear market, it's actually impossible even for the good guys to even make any money. It's certainly on high time frames, right? Like if you were trying to make money trading in say 2019, right? From let's say mid 2019 into let's say mid 2020, good luck with that, because it was literally just chop, and chop is really hard, right? Because you don't know when those little local bottoms and local tops are going to hit. You can make some money if you're very good, but it's like, you know, the bull market is kind of like roll your face around the keyboard and become a millionaire. The bear market is like, you know, be like a fucking, you know, samurai swordsman and make you know, the same money that the pizza delivery guy does, right? So things are going to get much more difficult, and therefore it makes more sense to be building something, right? So I'm already a developer. If I can, you know, become a Solidity dev or a Viper dev, that's what I'd like to do, really, get into Viper, you know, launch my own protocol, that kind of thing. Then not only could I make money, I could also network more like that, right? And have better contacts for the next time there is a bull market, and then you go higher up in the information ecosystem. So if you've let somebody in early into your project and they've made money, then maybe they're going to do the same thing for you.
Yeah, definitely, and it's a great time to build. Your reasons, it's definitely, yeah, going from a trader to a builder. I see it like you, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like you're looking for what's more efficient to like win money, simply put.
Right. I mean, the other side of crypto is you could say, well, you know, we want to change the world. And I actually agree with that. But the thing is, for me personally, I need money to, you know, secure my life, to be able to pay rent, to be able to buy food. I mean, I only have like one Bitcoin, right? I'm not like a millionaire. So I would love to change the world and make things better, but that's optional, right? What's essential is making money. So I do think that there are going to be things that will change the world in crypto. Like, as I said, you know, I talked about like Aztec, Lens protocol, you know, a bunch of these things are really like fundamentally going to make the world a different place. And if I could get a job for one of those, and, you know, contribute, that would be fantastic. But of course, the problem is, if you come in as a novice with no experience, they're not going to hire you anyway, right? So you may as well get some experience, and maybe you even try something and you don't make any money, but you do get some experience, you've written some smart contracts, and they're like, well, you know, maybe we actually can employ this guy. He's written something, he's tried something, he's achieved something.
Yeah, that's and honestly, there's like, even in the reason, there's nothing bad in it, because by wanting to secure your future, you will also contribute indirectly to the future of other people. people because
Yeah,
you're building things
it
to
depends.
do so.
Yeah, it
So at
depends.
the end, it's like
It depends how you.
even with the different mean, it's
Yeah, I mean, it depends how you do it, though, right? Because there are going to be a lot of people who try to scam people, and I'm not about that. You know, even though I could probably make money scamming, I'm not interested. I actually had some DMs requesting that I basically shill some kind of worthless token, and I turned it down. I'm not making that up. I literally did. It was called Dojazon. Somebody had like a dog coin that was Amazon themed, and they wanted to dump it on people. And I was like, this is a scam, you know, you're violating Amazon's copyright, the business idea is shit. Like, there's definitely a way to make money scamming. I'm not interested in doing that. I would like to make money the legitimate way by building a protocol that is, you know, it's going to give value to people, right? People are going to make money on it, they're not going to lose money on it. And of course, somebody always has to be the loser. There's going to be somebody who's going to buy the top, but there's a difference between, you know, somebody's going to end up buying the top in the next bull market and I'm literally scamming people and pulling the rug, right? And that's a pretty important distinction. Hello, Stable, can you hear me?
yeah, that's a huge distinction. And honestly, I encourage you to do that because I know you're from. Yeah, can you hear me?
There seems to be something wrong with your audio, Stable. Hello?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, you broke up there for a second.
Yeah, I tried many times. I was hearing you, but I tried many times. I didn't want to. Yeah, so I said I'm looking forward to seeing you build. That's I know, like I've been following you for a while, and I kind of feel that's my personal feeling, and I feel like you're an ethical person. You never pushed anything, and you've been open to discussion. So at this stage, that's my assessment of what I currently see.
Yeah, I try my best. Nobody's perfect, obviously, but you know, there's definitely a range of different degrees of ethics on crypto Twitter, and it's a pretty big range. But yeah, I mean, like we're going to try and launch something. It's going to be a meme coin on Optimism. So I'm not going to be doing the development. I've got some guys who apparently are good enough to dev it pretty quickly. But launching a meme coin, stay tuned.
Yeah, we'll look into it. We're looking forward to it.
Great.
So I think that like I don't know if you want to go on because like there's a lot of people uh, that wants to hear from you. But like usually what we do is like we do a 1 hour so that people can listen to the recording and it's easy. But yeah, we can go on for a few minutes.
Yeah, we could do another 15 minutes if people have questions. Sure.
Yeah, perfect. So I will just check the audience. And honestly, it's been a very good Twitter space. I loved talking to you. I loved getting your trader experience, your desire to build. And I don't know if you heard about Stable Unit before. I've been sharing a lot about it in my personal account. But what we're doing is that we're building a stablecoin using the DAI CDP model, but what we're doing is totally different, especially in terms of liquidation. In short, we're building an over-collateralized stablecoins that makes you earn half of what the protocol makes in yields, and it's automatically sent to your wallet. And I think that you may wonder where this yield comes from. So this yield simply comes from putting the reserve in Curve and in other protocols, so the reserve doesn't stay idle. You have your stablecoin, you can use it, and once you pay your loan, you get your deposit back, and just by holding the stablecoin, you get the interest sent to your wallet automatically. So that's our concept. That's what we're building. We're very close to testnet, so yeah, I'm very happy as well.
Yeah, that's nice, man. Cool idea. Everyone wants a stable coin. Although, you know what's kind of funny? everyone wants these stable coins. Nobody ever talks about Rye, right?
Yeah.
But actually, Rye has a lot of the properties that people want, right? Like it's decentralized, uncensorable, and it's also it can't like dump like Lunar did. So it's interesting that nobody seems to like the one thing that actually works really, really well. Nobody's interested in it.
Yeah. The
I
thing.
think the Rye devs just need to Ponzify it more, right? There's no Ponzi. Needs Ponzi.
No, I've been planning to write an article about Rye because, like, what I think why Rye isn't succeeding is because it's not used in a high yield product. Because people, we say people want decentralized stablecoins, but we saw that retail wanted high yields. They tried that,
Yeah.
and they saw that it's not what stablecoins are about. What our vision behind stablecoins, personally, is that we want to create a stablecoin that is available for everyone. Everybody can have access to it, but also everybody can vote. We're also working on a very specific voting mechanism where there's a mechanism for DAO members, and there's also some NFT voting. It's not NFTs to sell, it's just given to contributors and to people interested or who did something for the protocol so they can vote for its future. So we're really trying to make stablecoins about everybody, not just about yield.
Interesting. Yeah, people want yield, right? People see the numbers and they get greedy, and then you get Lunar, right?
Yeah, that's what happens. And what's fun is that it seems that people don't learn because the dual token model for algorithmic stablecoins is not working. Like, it's been proved multiple times with Basis Cash, with UST, that it's not working. Yet we have Tron still using USDD. We have people still in talks about other algorithmic stablecoins. There is one stablecoin that I like, though, that is quite different, and it's UXD protocol. So it's algorithmic, but it's a delta neutral position. So for me, it seems to be the best experiments when it comes to algorithmic stablecoins. But we already have a proved model, and that model is DAI or Psi or the Rye as well. So all these proved to be efficient. Why not try to build something based on it? Why not try to improve on it or use them?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I get overly excited when I talk about stablecoins. I've been reading a lot about stablecoins recently. That's something for sure. So yeah, I will not bother the audience with my rant about stablecoins. Is there any questions for Nakamoto? Raise your hand, and I will give you the floor.
I don't have a question, but I just want to take a minute. Sorry, Sam. To say thank you for
go on, CP, please.
letting me come up. I just wanted to say thank you, Naka, for the time. Thank you for letting me speak, and I look forward to seeing y'all in future spaces. Take care.
So we have Rowie who joined. Welcome, Rowie. Thank you for raising your hand. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm good, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate the spaces today, man. It's been very informative. It's just a quick one to Nakamoto. It wasn't a question or anything. It's just that, can you drop your Discord or Telegram links in the chat or something? Just
yeah, sure. So basically, we've got a Discord. I'm planning to kind of open it up for people. Various life factors have got in the way of that because I wanted to have some utility in there. So it's kind of like still a bit of a work in progress, basically. But I will post about it on my account when we're ready to go.
Okay, cool. So just follow you basically, and then you'll just keep us updated.
Yeah, it's exactly. We're aiming to incorporate some more functionality in there. And Basically, we actually need somebody to do some dev work on it.
Cool. Perfect. We also do you have any other question, Rowie?
Nah, I'm good for now. Thanks.
Perfect. We have a question from Vladimir. Welcome on board.
Hey guys, it has been a pleasure listening to you tonight. I have been following Nakamoto with a bunch of the other alpha guys like Brandon and all the other, let's say, decent guys on Twitter space when it comes to crypto. I do have a question regarding, I don't know if you have some set of rules when it comes to trading. I think I'm overdoing it, like missing out on trades because I'm a little bit conservative when it comes to trading. And basically my idea is on spot, but because not all of my rules are being checked, I'm missing on a lot of potential trades, let's say. Thank you.
Yeah, I have the same problem now because I was an ape in early 2021 and I got burned, and now I'm a little bit too cautious because I was a total baboon ape. I had my entire net worth in leveraged long positions on altcoins at one point. Like literally every pound and dollar that I owned was in a leveraged position. That's
Thank you.
all long leverage positions on like 3x or more, and that was all the money I had in the world. And so really kind of lucky that I didn't get completely wrecked like in 2021.
I completely understand, although I have to say I'm staying away from leverage because, yeah, as you said, you can get wrecked really quickly. So yeah, basically I'm good on the grid side of things, of controlling myself, but I guess I cannot control my fear, let's say, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, usually if you're too cautious, it's not that bad though, because if you're right consistently and you consistently bet 1% of your portfolio or 2%, you'll be fine, right? The problem really is either you're not right, you're just wrong a lot of the time, and then if you're cautious, you just lose money slowly. Or if you're right, but you bet too much. And this comes down to, I did a thread on this, and I should really start a medium for some of these threads, because these are really important. You have to understand the Kelly criterion from mathematics, where there is a certain optimal bet size depending on how much edge you have over the market. And if you bet more than the Kelly criterion amount, even if you're right, you're going to go bankrupt, right? So understanding the Kelly criterion, super important. Yeah.
Thank you, Naka. Thank you.
Maybe I'll retweet that. Let me just I might be able to add that to the space. Just give me a second. I think we had another question though.
Yeah, we have a question from Why Not Pump. So
Exactly.
Welcome.
Yeah, guys, thank you so much for bringing me up here. I have a question. I heard you speaking about stable coins, and I was like, okay, because someone was like speaking about their favorite ones and why the other ones are not good. So I have a question when it comes to stable coins. So do you guys think that the crash of UST, which is now UST Classic, is like a fraud? Or is it because of a technical problem or because of economical problem? I mean, inflation and stuff
it's
like that.
It's inherent to the way it works, and this is why I shorted it before. Like I shorted Lunar, knowing that this was going to happen, because the way that these algo stables work is they have the money in the stablecoin and the money in the volatile token. So you have UST and Lunar. And as long as there's a lot more money in the volatile token than there is in the stablecoin, it's fine, right? But as soon as you get into a situation where there's more money in the stablecoin than there is in the volatile token, then the thing can go into a death spiral, right? Because the way it works, and it's very confusing, but the way you can think about this is UST Lunar is a Ponzi scheme that has two types of participants, right? It has one type of participant who knows they're in a Ponzi scheme, and those are the people who are buying Lunar, right? So they're aiming for huge upside, but they realize that they should have realized, if they have, you know, some idea of what's going on, they realize that they have to take profits and there is risk they could lose everything, right? So that's the Lunar side. These are like the risk-taking Ponzi participants. And then there's the people in the stablecoin, and these are like the cattle, basically, ready to be slaughtered. They think that they're not in a Ponzi scheme. They think they're holding dollars, but they're not. They're holding, it's all the same Ponzi, right? It's all the same pot of money. UST and Lunar is the same pot of money. It's just shuffled around by these smart contracts. And, you know, at some point, what can happen is UST can start to depeg, and the smart contracts will automatically start market selling Lunar. And if the UST market cap is significantly bigger than the Lunar market cap, then those contracts will market sell Lunar, drive the price of Lunar to zero, and then once there's no more Lunar to kill, like the UST just suddenly vanishes, right? It just